The mural? Well, originally when I came in my freshman year, I heard about the mural. So then I didn't really know much about it until I started educating myself. So for me, it means a process of like learning my history, not only my history, but the history of Latinos on campus.
But more importantly, the mural is a symbol. It's almost like the Latino alma mater in the university, where Latinos from the past send greetings to those in the future. So it's been a very important mural for students over time, especially dealing with students' activism when they're organizing themselves to make things better for all the Latino students on campus. So the mural is very historical. It's going to be 45 years, which is amazing. I had no idea when I did the mural that it would become so important.
So originally when it was first made in 1974, there was a lot of movement going on within the university, not only for Latino, Latina students, but for African American, Indigenous, Native Americans.
It was a time in the history of the university where the student of color population was so small, the Latino student population was even smaller than the African American population, that this served as a home away from home in a campus that was very alien to many Latino students.
We're looking at the African American Culture Center as a model, and at that time we became aware that the university was planning to tear down this row of buildings to build a larger university building, because this is very important land. And I suggested that one way to retain La Casa, and actually we're very successful with that because it has lasted this long, was for me to paint a mural. And by doing the mural, then we would send a message to those future generations that we were here, the struggle that went on.
At that time, it was something that students needed to do in order to express themselves and have some concrete evidence of who they are and that they are here and that they do belong.
It was brought on by students without the consent of the university, so that's very important because even though we are students, we want to have a say in our lives here on campus, and so it's important to kind of look at the history and say like there were students that actually stood against whatever they were being told and said, hey, we're gonna do this and we're gonna make it happen.
I remember the day when I was working on this wall, a student came in crying because she had failed a couple of courses. And I included in here an image that looks a little bit like her holding the back grades in her struggle to reach to the top, if you will. But as part of that whole idea is also the idea that other students that you see on the other side should also support other students, that alumni should support other students.
So it was a critical space, and the students painted the mural to try to prevent the university from getting rid of it. And in the beginning, when that happened, the university didn't give a lot of resources to the cultural center.
When I started doing the mural, I was using my own art supplies. So I was, basically doing washes on the mural because I didn't have that much of paint. I would ask the students to give donation. I would get $1 here, $1 there, and so forth. Because students didn't have that much money either. So in a lot of ways, I did the mural, but it was not finished. There was no way I was able to finish with the supplies that I had. And also, I needed those supplies for my own work, for my classes.
They did not hire a full-time director. It was mostly graduate students that were doing it part-time as assistantships, that kind of thing. So there really wasn't a sense that the university was very committed to serving Latino students.
Administrator that was in charge of looking out for the La Casa, he told me that he got called to the chancellor's office and was told point blank that he needed to come in here and stop me from doing the mural. Which he replies, if you want the mural to be stopped, you do it. So the mural, even back then, was problematic for the university, and they really wanted to stop.
If you hear about the 1992 protest, it's in an anthropology class, if Alejandro Lugo's teaching it. It might be in one of your LLS classes. You might have seen it at one of the La Casa lunch and learns, but it's a history that the university does not teach. But what was that protest about? Retention rates, recruitment rates, Spanish-speaking advisors, people who were culturally competent, you know, and once again, those students were organizing again, in part to get the Latino Studies department as well. We don't talk about that.
I feel like students should realize that although we have this mural and it's years later, things haven't changed as much. So this is a symbol showing that people fought in the past, but still we must continue fighting today and push administration and institutional organizations to keep giving us what we need.
Even incidents like the tacos and tequilas, which was a CBT fraternity and Tri-Delt sorority, which Tri-Delts are literally our neighbors. It just goes to show when they did their tacos and tequila party and how they stigmatized and stereotyped Latinos. And given that they are literally our neighbors, they have no type of respect for what we do here, where we not only do student affairs issues, but we also do scholarship. And for our neighbors not even to acknowledge or respect that is very degrading.
I feel that we still have that spark, and when things come up at the community, we still seek to face them. So right now that they're saying we have 10% Latinos in the freshman class, these conversations have started. Oh yeah, well, you have those 10%, but now what are we gonna do to graduate them?
And then with all the talk as far as the multicultural center, which the university is working towards, they're trying to eliminate all the cultural centers and combine them so that way they can have one general space for everybody, which given that we were already classified as other, now you're actually putting all the others together in this one center and doing away with all the little cultural centers.
So then what is the university trying to do now? The university is trying to push up the ACT score. What does ACT score reflect? Socioeconomic status, public-private school, inner city or the suburbs, you get me? So by pushing up our ACT scores, that means there's a cutoff.
And then when I hear little comments like, oh my God, you don't look like you go to school here. You go to school here? Or you're a graduate student? All these fucking shocking reactions that I get, that shit makes me get aggravated. Those are microaggressions. Look him up, Daniel Solorzano. He talks about this all the time. Microaggressions and how they leads us to feel like we're not wanted here. So there is no type of inclusive Illinois and all that bullshit rhetoric that they talk about. It wasn't. It literally is a predominantly white institution that still follows some racist ass attitudes. And what I'm just trying to say is that this is a safe haven for me.
So the fact that we're sitting in Latino studies classes ties back to the creation of La Casa, which ties back to this mural. You get me? The fact that we're sitting in spaces at La Casa, at dinner dialogues, ties back to the creation of La Casa, which ties back to the mural. You get me? The resilience network, these conversations about retention, these conversations that we're having about racial climate on campus, like all of that ties back to the fact that these spaces were even created to begin with.
I think they should just restore the house or restore this room and whatever's around it. If the university can't invest in one room, but they can invest in entire buildings and entire areas on campus, I think it's very we have the short end of the stick by saying, well, we can just digitize things, or we can maybe save one part of the wall.
The university doesn't see these old houses as being efficient. They take a lot to maintain for the amount of people that they can house. So, and it's also prime real estate. So that's one reason that they're planning on tearing this down so that they can perhaps build a very big building on here.
I would argue that why not keep this space and use it like a retention effort space where we can actually come here and figure out how we can offer tutoring, offer advising, one-on-one advising.
But I think more so, it should be in a central location. Oftentimes people didn't even know the mural existed. You know, they'd be walking by, they would see the part on the window and they think, oh, what's that? And they come in.
Walking past Davenport, I remember walking into it my freshman year and being scared that the stairs were gonna just collapse. But right now they're working on it and they're restoring every inch of it. Lincoln Hall, they completely restored. The English department has been constantly been having work done. So these are bigger buildings that, yeah, they support more students, but at the same time, we already are pushed into another building that's not just for Latino studies. We don't have our own space anymore.
Well, the mural, I think, could re-energize students and not be so complacent to think that Latino students to think that it's been easy. Some students who are coming into the university now may have had it easier than the predecessors, so that they can see that, it's been a struggle.
If the mural was not here, if we have no way of, you know, keeping the mural, I feel like students will not necessarily have that feeling, what it means to be a Latino or the struggles that other Latinos have faced. So just by looking at the mural here, like it's present and we are able to discuss, hey, Oscar Martinez and other students brought on this so-and-so because, you know, of this history of Latinos on campus.
It's almost like saying all those efforts that happened in the past, all those people who put a tremendous amount of time, a tremendous amount of work, who put themselves on the line of being arrested or being thrown out of the university of their future education, it's almost like saying that did not happen. We don't care. A lot of the mural was supposed to deal with some kind of dark phases of life and struggle. So the whole central murals is struggling to make a better life for themselves. But the ceiling was supposed to be looking forward in time to the future. And it was, the way I set it up back then, it was supposed to be full of hope